This is Jason Creel and you are watching the Lawn Care Life. Today's video is sponsored by Graham Spray Equipment. They make the spray tanks that I use on the back of my trucks to spray the yards and make them look good. If you need a spray tank for your lawn care business, go to grahamsc.com. The link is in the description. Today, I want to share with you a couple of stories from customers I'm dealing with in my own local lawn business. I'm out running a weed control and fertilization company. And hopefully this is going to be helpful for you guys that are in the lawn care business on how to deal with customers. I'm just going to tell you what happened, how I dealt with it, and kind of my thoughts on it, and you guys leave feedback for me in the comments. So I did a video several years ago that got a fairly good response, but I was talking about a demographic that's tough for me to deal with, and it has not changed since I did the video, and that's old people. Old people are the most challenging customer for me, and I like a lot of old people and that I know on a personal level, but as customers they can be quite difficult. And today I want to share kind of two different stories to explain to you two different categories, and one that I was perfectly fine with dealing with as a customer, and the other I really wasn't fine with, and I want to explain to you the difference and why. So when you take on a yard, you don't know everything about the yard. I mean, you go out there and look at it, but for instance, if I go out there and see a yard in the wintertime and give a quote, I don't know if it's going to have tons of nut sedge in the summer or whatever. And the same goes to the customer. You might meet that customer, have initial interaction with them, but you don't necessarily know the customer that well, which is fine. I'm not necessarily have to ever get to know them that well. It's more just, I'm going to take care of your yard and you send me the money, okay? That's basically it. Now, if you want to have a little bit more dialogue, I'm totally fine with that. So today, I go to a yard, and it's a customer I've had for several years. And actually, that's the second story. Let me start with the other one. I call a customer I picked up last year, okay? And it's some elderly ladies that have always been very nice to me. But they have expectations. A lot of old people, they're at home all day, which is great, but because of that, they don't have a lot going on. And again, I'm not categorizing all old people. You may be old and say, oh, I'm busier and I work harder than all these young people and all that. But for most people, they're at home a lot and they have a lot of time on their hands, and they look at their yard, and if there's anything wrong with it, it just works it, gets them all worked up, and by the time they talk to you, the lawn guy, they're so worked up about it. So anyway, these people, this lady, I call her and she wants me to let her know before I come. I say, hey, would it be okay for me to come fertilize your yard today? It's time to fertilize the grass. She said, sure, that'd be fine. She said, make sure you put a lot of fertilizer on it too, because it looks terrible. And I said, oh, okay, what's going on with your yard? I'll be there to take a look at it. Well, basically it comes down to it's not green enough. And I get this pretty much every single year. I'm filming this in early to mid-April, and I'm in the South. We have warm season grasses, and our grasses don't fully, they're just kind of waking up. I mean, depending on where you live. Now, my yard, and I wanted to think about this, like, why does my yard fully green and their yard not green? At least in some places. Well, one of the main reasons, and what I tell the customers is, I get out there and I mow mine in March. I get rid of that dormant layer of grass, or most of it. It lets the sunlight get down, warm the roots, and what do you know? I've got one of the greenest yards on the block. And I had customers say, hey, I drive by your house. They know, some of them know where I live, and they said, your yard looks way better than mine. How come? And they think it's like I'm out there dumping fertilizer on mine or doing something. It literally is just, I cut the grass in March and they didn't. Okay, so my grass is green. Now, with that being said, we went down to about 30 degrees about a week and a half ago, and my grass took some frost damage. I had big yellow spots, and that grew out of it real quick. But I've had 3 people tell me today that basically their yard's not green enough. And I ask them the same thing. I have the same questions all the time. Have you mowed your grass? But anyway, this lady, she's basically getting her grass not green. She said, I'm going to go buy some seed. And I said, well, I wouldn't recommend that. She said, well, why not? And I said, well, I asked her what kind of seed. She said Bermuda seed, and she had Bermuda grass. I said, listen, if you're talking about in between your houses, there's little garden homes, very little room in between the houses and very little sunlight. I said, if you put seed there, if the Bermuda was going to grow there, it would have already grown there. You know, it spreads very fast. And she said, yeah, and along the backyard, along my fence. I said, yeah, you know, the closer you get to the fence or the tree, you're normally going to see that Bermuda grass start thinning out. And I wouldn't get to see, because, you know, the type of Bermuda you have in your yard is not the same type you're going to go buy as a seed, and it's not really hot enough to get it to grow from seed, you know. And you can just go to the sod farm or, you know, local place and buy a piece of sod if you want to do that. But I encourage her to say, hey, listen, where it's not getting enough sunlight, put some zoysia down, and it'll blend in, and, you know, and it's much more shade tolerant. So the point being, she calls, she's a little bit disgruntled about her yard not being green enough, but I was able to talk to her with reasonable common sense, provide a solution for her problem, talk her out of wasting her money on grass seed, and her whole demeanor kind of changed over the conversation. Not that she was ugly at first, but she was kind of upset, thinking, I need more fertilizer. And when I talked to her about, you know, really, you don't need to waste your money on seed, and we're gonna fertilize it, but, you know, mowing it will help get the sunlight down to the roots, and then putting the proper grass for the situation will make a huge difference. Okay, so I have no problem with that. She didn't call me up and tell me how wonderful I was. She was concerned about her yard, but when you speak common sense truth to them, they're able to receive it and move forward with your recommendation. Great. All right, the next customer that I'm telling you about, I'm at his house, and I'm doing the yard, and he comes out there, or actually he drove up while I was there, and I'm fertilizing. And he walks out there, and he just kind of, he's not a big talker anyway, you know, I can just kind of get the sense of that. But I said, hey, how's it going? He's doing fine, you know. And then he's just kind of staring at it, and he's got, his front yard is full sun, okay, full sun Bermuda. Backyard, a lot of trees, and he's got Bermuda back there that's real thin, but then he's got a slope that gets, you know, some sun, but it's still it's on a slope, and it's being blocked by some of the trees. Now again, it's getting some sunlight, it's got Bermuda as well, but I would say it was probably 30% green, where the front was almost fully green. And I mean, same yard, same customer, same applications to this one as the other part. And he just kind of looks at me and he's like, it's not coming out too good over here, talking about the part that wasn't green. I said, yeah, you know, I see that. I told him a story. I said, listen, at my house, I've got a row of crepe myrtles, and I've got grass on both sides, and on the sunny side of the crepe myrtles, it's almost fully green. On the side it's not getting as much sun, it's still about 50% green, 50% dormant. And he kind of looks at me, and, you know, it's sort of caveman grunt, you know, kind of stuff. And I said, but he just doesn't satisfy me, was the point I'm getting to. And then he's like, what you putting on the yard? I said, I'm putting fertilizer on it. He asked me what kind. I said, hey, here's the kind, you know, this is what I'm doing, and next time I'm going to do this. And I really believe that with the warmer weather coming and with the fertilizer, it's just going to take this side a little bit longer to warm up. And I said, I'm also spot treating your weeds. He had what's called yellow wood sorrel in his yard, a little bit of it. It looks like a little 3-leaf clover with a little yellow flower. I said, yeah, I'm spot treating your weeds. Again, a caveman grunt, you know, like no human. I don't care if it's broken English. I don't care if it's Spanish. I don't care what it is, but like, I don't do caveman grunts. I just don't. And it's, to me, it's just disrespectful not to like speak back to me. And I think this is the part that I struggle with. And I'm just talking to you a little bit, you know, personal, how I view my business and view my customers. But when a customer that's older, or just a human, not just on lawn care, but when they feel like in some situations like that they have absolutely nothing to learn from anybody who's younger than they are. And that, to me, that's a huge problem. And I hope that if I meet somebody that's 16 years old that's out there mowing lawns for 2 years, that if I had a conversation with that person, that I would be open to learning something from that person. Maybe they know something different than I do. I mean, they're a different generation. They think differently. They may have some different ideas that I haven't thought of. And I feel like some people, they just, you know, it's just like, you just look at you as like, you just, you know, it's not perfect. And when the point being, when you speak common sense to somebody, like, listen, your front yard is in full sun, your backyard is not in full sun, Bermuda grass likes full sun. It does not like partial sun. It will grow. It's never going to look as good as the front yard. And I mean, again, I'm saying this in a kind way, but when you explain that concept and they just stare at you and act like you're crazy, I don't feel the obligation as a business owner that it's my job just to cave in and just do whatever they want no matter what, just to make them happy. I mean, what I want to say to them, and I don't say this because I don't think it would go over very well, but it's like, listen, man, you got like 5 or 10 years left on planet Earth, okay? You're not getting any younger, and do you want to spend your last 5 or 10 years complaining about how the sunlight does not make, partial sun does not green up your grass as fast as full sun does? Because that's basically the argument you're making. And again, they don't buy the argument. It's common sense that sun makes grass green, and this lack of sun is not helping that grass turn green. Oh, by the way, if you'd mow it, it would let the sun get down to the roots because you got it insulated. It's just like somebody has I saw one today had a piece of their fence had fallen, and I go move the fence because I couldn't fertilize under the fence, and guess what? It's all bleached out because it's not getting any sunlight, and it's probably not getting much water. The same thing, if you leave all that shaggy, dormant grass on there, it's not going to turn green, and it's not getting as much sun as the front yard because there's trees in the way. When you explain that in common sense, and again, I do it much gentler and much nicer to them in person, and they just look at you like whatever. I just say, well, I don't care. I mean, I'm not going to tell them, hey, you want to cancel right now because I don't have any contracts. Believe me, I'll move on. I got other things to do. But when you talk to them in common sense and they won't listen to you and just think, basically it's your fault, you're not fertilizing right or not using all that, I don't feel like it's my job as a lawn care provider. I've got hundreds of customers. I got a family. I got a lot of things going on in my life. So I'm not going to worry about it and just feel like, oh, I just got to make this guy feel better. I mean, some people choose to be grumpy, and they're going to be grumpy, and they're going to be grumpy, and that's fine. And if he calls me tomorrow and cancels, I'll say, okay, that's fine. I'm moving on. I mean, I won't feel bad about it at all because I don't want to deal with it. Now, if he wants to, accept common sense and logic and that, hey, sun is good for grass and no sun is not good for grass, then I think we can continue with a working relationship. And I'm going to leave that in his court, but I'm not going to sit there and spend extra time and, well, let me come back tomorrow and put some more fertilizer, or let me help you with this, sir, or yes, please, sir. I'm just like, man, I'm doing what your yard needs. And if you decide that that's not what you think it needs, then good luck to you in the future. Again, treat them polite as you can be. Be respectful, but don't cave into the pressure of a disgruntled customer, because it just ultimately, I know for me, it just makes my day not go as well. And I've got a lot of customers that trust me and want me doing what I think their yard needs to their yard and taking good care of it. And if the customer thinks they know more than you, then man, I say, hey, go prove it. I tell you what, and this may be not the best, but I get so much joy sometimes. This is probably sick joy I get, but when you go by, as a customer fires and you go by the next year, they say, I'm gonna do it myself, I can do better. You go by and it looks awful. I just want to break out laughing and just take a picture, but I don't. I just, but anyway, I do get a little internal satisfaction from them thinking they know more than you. And I tell you what, this helps me learn how to deal with people I hire to do stuff at my house. When I'm working on my house at the moment, I've got electricians and HVAC people and all that, and what an idiot I would be if I walked up and tried to tell them how to do it. Now, I can ask questions, I can share my opinion. Hey, I would like to put the light here instead of there, but I'm not going to just make a fool of myself and just caveman grunt them and see if I can, tell them what to do and how to do their job. Because at some point, you want to be a difficult customer to deal with, and fine, you can be, but you're not going to be my customer. I mean, ultimately, these situations usually resolve themselves. I get tired of the complaining, and I tell them to move on, again, in a polite, gentle way. Okay, I'm not saying be disrespectful at all, or they get tired of me and they move on, and their problems never get fixed. So, I mean, you could tell them to go look it up on the internet, but a lot of times those people don't want to use the internet. And if they read it on the internet, they wouldn't believe it. It's like they don't believe anything unless it came from the Farmer's Almanac, so what's the point? But I tell you what, people ask me a lot of times your best tip on starting a lawn care business. I think I've changed my opinion, and I've said this one before, but I think the most important thing about running a lawn care business, now this may just be me. I mean, you gotta make money. That should be a tip, I guess, or you're gonna go broke. But for me, maintaining control of the business and not giving it over to the customers is very, very important. So if a customer starts to make your job not enjoyable, I mean, you can't just fire everybody that ever complains about anything. I mean, I'm not saying that by any means, but if customers complain all the time or they're just constantly late or on their payment or just constantly a problem, and it's causing you personal anxiety and where your business is not enjoyable, I really believe you need to get rid of that customer. And again, a polite way, recommend somebody else. Hey, it's just not working out. So, figuring out a way that your business flows the way you want it to. So if you're mowing lawns and it's like, hey, can you come every 10 days? And you're like, I don't have any 10-day customers. I have 7-day customers and 14-day customers. I don't have any 10-day customers. And they're like, well, we really want you to come 10 days. And you say, oh, okay, I'll come every 10 days. And then you find out that messes your whole schedule up. Now you're driving across town to mow this one yard on a Thursday when all your rest of your yards in that area are on a Monday. And you're like, and then the next week it's on a different day. And then it's like, well, this is terrible. This is messing up my whole schedule. And you caved in and you lost control of your business, and you might as well just hand it over to the customers and just say, yes, sir, what do you want me to do next for you, sir? And you just completely lost control. And what it does, it makes you not enjoy your business, and it makes you where you can't provide good service to the rest of your customers because you're too busy caving into the whiners who got all the problems. This old squeaky wheel gets the grease. I mean, yeah, they get the grease about once or twice, and after that, there's somebody else's squeaky wheel, in my opinion. So just be careful how far you let the customers control your business. That's my thoughts. Let me hear your comments below. Dealing with customers, maybe you got a story, and there's a lot of tips and advice on there, but I thought let me just go a little bit behind the scenes in my business side and let you hear what's going on with my lawn care business. Talk to you guys later. Bye.